Rory had some quotes about negativity in the coverage of the game of golf, which I actually really liked because I thought it was kind of in line with what we've mostly done our entire careers with this little shindig right here, where he was going in, I think it was with Kyle Porter. He was doing a long, one of those things that Rory does like a couple times a year where he does just like the long interviews that get printed. And he's talking about kind of the coverage in the game of golf being negative. And he said for the overall game, I'm not talking about if someone messes up and you have to be critical of someone. Absolutely. I think that is part of it. I think I, more than anyone, understand that and know that. He said, I'm not saying being critical of players. I'm saying being critical of the overall game of golf. He said, we're all in this together. We all know that we could benefit by raising the game up. Some people in the media, I'd love to ask why their coverage of golf is so negative.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on what he's referring to. Is he referring to Live PGA Tour, or is he just referring to the game of golf?
I think he's just referring to kind of the game of golf. And I was kind of maybe with PGA Tour Live type stuff, I was maybe thinking that he was just in general talking about players all getting a bad rap for being greedy or this or that, which is, if he is coming at it from that standpoint, I can understand because players, if you're an NFL quarterback and you just try to get the biggest contract that you can get, nobody calls you like great. They're just like, yeah, of course you do. Like everybody should do that. Why wouldn't you? For me, I almost took even more of it. Like people just are sort of this in the media space in golf and really in every sport, but in golf too, this like curmudgeon-y, negative approach, where they just kind of come at it like they're covering Capitol Hill, and it's like this person is actually a bad person trying to ruin people's lives or whatever. And it's like, well, no, this guy's probably a good person who's just out there trying to do the best they can for the game of golf. And I think I understand a little bit what he's saying when it's just sort of like, why, if it's better for everyone, if golf is raised up, if there's more participation, if there's more viewership, if all that's higher, then everybody that's working in the game of golf is going to do better. They're going to make more money. They're going to have more viewers. They're going to have more friends that follow their stuff, all of that. Why do people somehow always gravitate, or a lot of people in media gravitate towards being negative? Is sort of the general sense that I'm getting from Rory.
I mean, we talked a little bit about it with the Michael Clayton stuff last week, where there does seem to be a very specific, I don't even want to call it demographic because it's not that big of a, there's not that many people who really fit into this category, but the ones who do, they do seem angry. And I don't know, I don't know if they want to shrink the game. They just seem to be getting outpaced by the game, but I don't know where that comes from. If you just have the right attitude about it, like if Michael Clayton or whoever, I don't want to keep on that guy because I really don't know a ton about it.
But it's fine.
A guy like that sees what he saw and takes a picture of it and decides to be negative about it. You could have easily taken a picture of that and said, wow, look at these 25 and under guys who are playing a sport that is normally reserved for old men. And all the commercials on the broadcast are Viagra and Cialis and, get a walker and, all this stuff that's geared towards an older demographic. You can just be like, wow, it's so cool that people who are 40, 50 years younger than me are interested in the sport and are playing the sport. And we're all kind of doing the same thing. The sport that started hundreds and hundreds of years ago is still grabbing the attention of the young demographic. How cool is that? Let's all, we're all in this together. It's so much fun. And I don't know, people don't want to do that. And there's very specific instances of people who are just like, these people, despite them having that not big of a difference in the things that they like, they just like the thing differently. They decide to shit all over them and they don't want to grow the sport that they love. Listen, we've been trying to get an answer to this since Old Man Media it all over us in Australia. We were essentially saying, we are covering the same sport that you guys are. We're just doing it in a different way. And the different way you guys don't seem to like, that's the issue you have. You don't have an issue with the sport. You have an issue with us covering it in a way that you maybe wouldn't do or don't approve of. I don't get it at all. I've never understood it. Maybe when I'm 70 years old, I'll finally see the light on the other side and be like, these people who like golf and they're younger than me, because that's the only thing I can see. Maybe you just reach a certain age where you just start to hate everything because you're getting older and things aren't as good for you and you're going to die soon. And you're just like, I'm mad at everything because I'm not as young as everybody else. That's the best solution I can come up with.
Yeah, the old man golf media thing is kind of what I thought. Rory was alluding to something pretty similar, where it's just like, why could be a negative? We all cover golf, dude. Why get into media of any sport if you are going to not love it, not be obsessed with it, and not be excited and positive for the most part about covering it? And Rory, again, I thought he was right when he's like, I'm not saying every single part of it's always negative. You don't have to act, or everything's always got to be positive. You don't have to act like you can't criticize people in golf. Of course you can. And when somebody does something wrong or bad or whatever, they should be open to being criticized, and they should. But I did kind of, I don't know, I kind of enjoyed him just being like, look, man, like, there's no reason to be super negative about the game of golf. If we're all in the game of golf together, we should be positive about it. He was talking about how recreational golf and participation is as good and healthy as it's ever been, and that's something that we should be able to all kind of build off of. And I just thought, I mean, we're kind of Rory stands in the show, but I enjoyed that. I thought that was nice stuff coming out of Rory.
I'd also recommend to people to, even the negative stuff, or the quote unquote negative, view that in a way where it's like a movie. We talk a lot about narratives on this podcast. That's really how I've chosen to look at a lot of the things when it comes to certainly golf, and then other aspects of things that I enjoy following. Even the bad stuff, view that as like, oh, a villain has entered the picture. How interesting is that? Like, yeah, there are going to be people that in whatever you follow that you don't like, but don't get so caught up, especially when it's not serious. Like, if you're following a sport, you should not take it seriously whatsoever. So when someone does something quote unquote wrong or that you disagree with, view them as a villain who just entered a movie that you're watching. And now you're like, how are they going to act? How are people going to react to them? What's that going to be? But then once you're done following it, you're like, oh, I'm not watching that movie anymore, so I don't have an opinion. It's the people who get caught up in, like, it ruins their day when something happens that they don't like in the sport that they're following, and they can't think about anything else, and they're talking to their friends about it, and they're pissed. And it doesn't have to be that way. Just view it and be like, oh, wow, that's an interesting thing that I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm not going to make it my life's goal to bring that person down or bring the sport down because of it.